And calls now, whichever get up. I stop my scarred with a sweet one bliss. Someone flips me a bag bag it up. So, it's another one, yeah. It's a full run, yeah. Oh, it's another one, yeah.
What's going on, people? Welcome into the Stay Weighed-In show presented to you by iBoxingHub in association with our partnership with D-Rock Clothing. I'm joined by my man Ray. Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you, man. Listen, it's a decent weekend of fights, no late night watches, so I'm very full. How about yourself?
I knew you were gonna do that.
I'm very full.
I can't complain. I think I'm with you. I think this was the first weekend in a while where we kind of slept at normal times. Before we go into obviously today's episode, here's a quick little video from our sponsor. Yes, so people, as you can see, iBoxingHub 24, get yourself 40% off. Before we go into the show, a few little comments. Got a shout out Jams, as always. Big up Abbas and big up to yourself. I am very feel. This is sickening. Just wait till December. But again, big up Neutral. You can check his vlog out.
I'm very full.
I knew where you were going.
This weren't nothing.
I knew where you were going.
Boy. I can't even show Usyk love without just saying I'm very full.
Yeah, there's no love for Usyk here with me.
I didn't even mention someone else, but you know.
Listen, just want to give a quick shout out to Neutral as well. Check out his vlog for the fight that we are going to talk about now. With that being said, let's go straight into it. Jack Catterall, the escalation to world title is there. It's done and dusted. He beats Regis Prograis on points, and I guess I want to kind of touch on the fight a bit, but then also what this means for Jack going forward. Kind of started off a bit slow in terms of the first few rounds, and you just kind of thinking, all right, is it that thing, counter punches against each other, southpaws against each other? Is this going to really come alive? And then Regis actually drops Jack Catterall. It was a sharp jab, sharp shot, and then I want to say it was more of a case of a flash knockdown, but on the flip side, also being able to feel his pain. But then the second half of the fight showed me why Jack Catterall is a world champion level fighter, because he turned it up, got 2 knockdowns in one particular round. Unfortunately, Regis also rolled his ankle, I want to say, but carried on like a champion as well. And now, yeah, like I said, we're on the road now to Jack Catterall becoming a world championship fighter again at 140. Just want to get your thoughts on the fight itself.
I think, to be fair, Catterall, I've seen him a long time as being championship contender. To be fair, in all honesty, we should have been calling him undisputed 140 champ a long time ago. So the fact that he's had to take this long route to reintroduce himself, etc., kudos to him, because for a lot of people, it would have taken a lot of steam out of their cell, and they would have just said, F this, I'm not looking to, climb the mountain again. And kudos to him, he's gone and climbed the mountain again. He's done it against a formidable guy in Regis, and he done it in a hometown equivalent crowd in up in the north in Manny. So, I'm happy with Catterall. I hope he gets the right fight next. With all this controversy of, Sergio Mora and Oscar De La Hoya always talking about matchmaking, I do hope they match Catterall. Well, they call that Teofimo, but he's probably gonna go and hide in again, the coward. But yeah, so I just want to take a shot at Teo. But go ahead.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I like Teo, but he says some dumbass things. But talking about the next fight, the easier fight is to make the winner out of Catterall versus Hitchens, and that looks like the route they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a world where, one, you can make the Teofimo Lopez fight, but two, and probably more important, is there a world where Jack Catterall gets the fight in Manchester? Because I personally think he's been the A side in terms of the fights he's had here in the UK. But I think now he may need to do that thing where he travels either to Australia or to America going forward.
Well, this is the funny thing, because if Paro wins, I guess we would need to get correspondence from Australia as to why they're not building up the market there. Because from my understanding, initially it was because of, Paro that they initially done all, getting a lot of the Australian fighters that Eddie, I think it was Paro, it was Upataya. Then I remember the DAZN deal. Well, I remember seeing an announcement of a DAZN deal in Australia. So I'm confused as to why a lot of these title fights aren't in Australia. Because if logic would say, Paro got the world title, do the title fight in Australia, but who knows? I know, Cambosis has complained also about Australia doing this thing where they only support one guy. I think he was saying the other day, like, they've only been really supporting Tim Tszyu, and how Australia mainstream media, not the fans, but the mainstream media, didn't really show him love when he was, unified champion. So I don't know if it's still a cultural thing in Australia, but yeah, if it was up to me, it should be in Australia.
Do you think it kind of comes from, like you said, Tim Tszyu, and he's kind of been pushed in his division of the guys to beat? When you look at Liam Paro, he got the win against Tears. You didn't expect him to get the win. So it's kind of like, oh shit, he's a guy that is from Australia, but we didn't expect him. Similar with Cambosis, like the brand of they had was kind of just being a case of, you guys are there just to put the fight on.
Yeah.
Maybe if we get a bit of attraction from there, but we don't really care. Now you're world champions. We kind of don't know how to promote you in that country.
That might be it. Maybe there's just not great foundations for boxing.
I wouldn't think that, if I'm honest with you. If you want me to be real, I don't look at Australia as a semi-hotbed for boxing.
But I would at least think they would welcome just having a champion, because with Cambosis, he kind of gave them no choice but to recognize him, which I also respect. And I always tell people my respect for George Cambosis is of the highest order, because I tell people all the time, to seize your moment and overachieve is one of the biggest accomplishments you can get in sport. Because yes, people are going to complain, or not even complain, but they're going to say he wasn't that great, yada yada yada. To overachieve at championship level is madness. To overachieve and seize the moment the way George did, not only, in that fight, but commercially, the media tour that he done following his win was just like, I get that's why his gripe is with Australian media, because his thing was just like, no, I done this off of my volition. You guys didn't back me. Cambosis went all out and made sure that, Australia was going to recognize him. And I feel like it'll be a very bad missed opportunity if they can't grow, But boxing is a global sport. I'd like to see it growing all over the globe, and Paro get his big shot in front of the Australian massive.
So this is the thing. I kind of liken Cambosis a bit to Josh Taylor here. Because, listen, we're going to talk on Josh a bit. Hear me out. Let me land on this.
Okay, go on.
He was fighting for Undisputed. Ain't nobody caring. Obviously, we were in court. We were speaking about it. The moment he won it, you had TalkSport bringing him on and everything. And he was like, I did this. You didn't talk about me then. So I'm gonna let you know what I did and the accomplishment I actually did. So that's where I kind of like it to, where I think he went under the radar, but I think it's a top rank thing a bit. When you're
Similar. Well, I you know me on Top Rank. I've always said the best talent, the worst promoters. But I feel like
I'll kind of say PBC to a point. PBC.
Nah, PBC. They've slowed down now. But what I will say is this about PBC: from the clock, they've got a lot of bunch of fighters now. That obviously their careers are dying out now. So obviously you had the Charlo brothers, you had Spence, you had my mind's drawing a blank right now. But that class of fighters, what I'll give PBC is during their time, they got their time in the limelight. Obviously, PBC slowed down. Their model and infrastructure was poor. That was PBC's problem. The model and infrastructure wasn't for the long term. It was for the short term to maximize the time they had with a lot of these fighters. And then now that those fighters are, near the twilight of their career, it doesn't look good. But during their time, I would say that they maximized them, because at the end of the day, say what you want about PBC, they've had some solid pay-per-views over the years, whereas Top Rank,
charged you solid pay-per-view.
Yeah, and they've charged an arm and a leg for good fights and bad. But whereas Top Rank, I feel like, what was the last big Top Rank pay-per-view? And we're not gonna count Better Be versus Bivol, because that's under Turkey's ruling. But if you go Top Rank, who's the last Top Rank pay-per-view star that's out there? And we're not counting Tyson Fury either, because that's UK. Do you get what I'm saying? It's true. And they've had top talent, and they Crawford on the books. They had Crawford on the books and tried to tell us that he's not. They had Crawford on the books and tried to tell us that he's not promotable, which was a lie, because when he was under PBC, although short-lived, they promoted that well. Nice. Then obviously, I think Neutral saying Taylor versus Regis and maybe Haney versus. Haney versus Loma, but even that, I won't call Haney a top-ranked guy. He was just a guy that happens to be there, and it's the same reason why they got trouble with Shakur Stevenson, because he started going up in terms of value in regards to being champion and wanting more money, but he wasn't a pay-per-view star that you was getting your money back. And this is where boxing right now is going to have a huge reset in how much they're paying people, because the money's just not there for a lot of people. Not everyone's AJ, not everyone's Fury, not everyone's going to get the rub of.
Not everyone's Canelo.
Pause. And not everyone's Canelo. Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. Listen, for as much as people may think I don't like Canelo in how my speeches come off sometimes,
it's like me with Usyk.
The fact that no, you're worse. But the fact that Canelo's fight with Berlanga, I expected it to do well because of the Mexico versus Puerto Rican backdrop to it. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did. But I'm saying,
I hear it. So for you then, like when you look at, I think I want to talk about just the rebuild of Catterall before I do talk about Regis. How much does it show of a character for him? But also, I want to talk about the guys behind him. You got your Sam Joneses, you've got Eddie Hearn and stuff. Sam Jones, you know what? He took it on the chin. If you see his recent Instagram,
he had no choice but to.
Regis did him really well. But if you look at the guys behind him as well, in positions to now become potentially world champion in that land.
We might be experiencing technical difficulties. Are we back? Inside mic check 1 2. Hold up.
Yeah.
Wait, how much am I even? 5, 6, 7, 8. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Hands up. All right, cool. Let's get back in.
Yeah, I was just saying, in terms of just having the team around him with Sam Jones, with Eddie Hearn, and just himself, how much credit do you give for them guys collectively pushing him back into that fold of world title shot and backing their guy in terms of being able to get that as well?
As much stick as Eddie has got recently, I'll give him a lot of credit for Catterall, because obviously Catterall was first brought in as the mandatory for Josh Taylor that had, you know, taken step aside money so Josh could do great things at the time. And then what followed after was, you know, he went to Boxer. They set up this big fight in Scotland. So going back to your point earlier about when we was asking why isn't Josh Taylor a star and what's been done to make him a star. Oh, wow. Damn, they done Regis bad. Yeah. But yeah, it was like the whole thing of like, oh, let's make Josh Taylor a star. And then when the lights was, you know, shining bright on Josh Taylor to have this epic homecoming, Catterall comes and spoils the fun. And then he goes from the mandatory guy with, you know, not as big commercial presence, who basically beat him and got robbed, to the guy that Boxer just basically had on the side. And, you know, Boxer messed around Catterall because wasn't they meant to do a rematch, and then like he kept him falling through. Then Josh Taylor got booked for another fight.
You know what's crazy?
Catterall was just there like, yo, what the hell?
I'm gonna just say this out there. This is how good of a job Eddie Hearn has done with Jack. I kind of forgot he was with Boxer for a second.
Yeah.
I actually kind of forgot that he was with Boxer for a moment.
He was with Boxer and they stalled him. And that's why I'm saying, as much as, you know, people want to give flack to Eddie nowadays and it's popular to do it, you got to give him credit for how he's handled Catterall, because he put Catterall back on the map. He helped him get on a lot of fights in Manny as well. Like, you know, he's from up north. He's not from Manchester exactly, from a smaller town, but, you know, sometimes attach yourself to the bigger city. And Eddie's done well to like do that for Jack Catterall, especially the fact that, like I said, small town guy, not the biggest presence beforehand. And, you know, they had to rebuild him to make him look, you know, nice and shiny to get that title shot. And now he's at a point where, you know, he beat Josh Taylor. He beat another opponent. Forgive me for not remembering.
Linares, he beat him.
Linares. And then he beat Regis Prograis. So, you know, 2 titleists there, one former undisputed, one former, you know, 2-time champion of the division. So I think now it's just like, it's now or never for Catterall. So kudos to his team for getting him back to where he needs to be and getting him more active as well. Because like I said, Boxer did stall his career. Now he's got more activity. Now he's looking good. And I feel like there's no better time than the present. I don't want to see him against Devin Haney, and I don't think it will happen. I'd love to see him first Teofimo Lopez. But it sounds like it sounds like that idiot's got a lot of litigation with Top Rank.
I think that could potentially happen, but that happens if Jack has a belt with him. I don't think he challenges it. I think Matchroom the easiest fight is to make it within our own group.
Yeah.
So we just get that done. Just want to say one quick thing. Right hand on God. Sam Jones, well done, fair play. You took a lot of stick, but you came out the way.
All he had to say was no comment. All he had to say was, listen, this was before I knew.
But that's what he did. But it was the fact.
No, because it was too late. You already said
too late. That was the thing. It was
you know,
too late.
Like right hand to God is
I know, like, it's crazy.
The juxtaposition of saying right hand to God, and he plays the message right away. And it's just like, oh my goodness, like hook, line, and sinker. Like you can't even run from. Like they got you in 4K.
Hey, listen, he did run from it. Apparently, he sprinted out.
You have to. You have to.
But listen,
at that point you've been caught, like a thief on the runway.
But I do want to talk about Regis. He looked like his ankle turned. I think we've got the picture here. We'll just bring it up here when he was knocked down. So, and to his credit, he carried on with the fight, unlike certain other people who take a little tumble, but that's beside the point.
No, say names.
Benjamin Whittaker.
I was not expecting that. No comment.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but go ahead.
But afterwards, he said, this might be it for me. And then he's probably taken a little bit of a step back and said, okay, I've got a bit more going forward. One of the criticisms I think he's had is probably he stayed at 140 for too long. Do you see a position for him at 147 in his career right now?
As much as, and I like Ruger, I'm a big fan of Ruger, and I think this might be his last fight on Matchroom, and I hope that you know, he's been paid well. I think he said himself like he's clashed with Eddie at times, but Matchroom's done right by him. I was very happy with that because a long part of his career he was getting mismanaged by PBC and the whole situation with MTK. But please, Rigor, it's done, man. Unless you're going to get fights where it's gonna get a nice payday, be done with it, man. Because 147. Because I saw a tweet where he was talking about looking to become champion again, and this is the sad reality of like, this is where you have to be harsh with certain boxers and put them in high stake fights so that they can get hurt, and then reality can drop down on them that it's not happening for them. As harsh as that sounds, but I'm not saying this.
I hear what you mean. I know.
I'm not saying this is directly to Regis, but if the shoe fits. But yeah, sometimes you do need someone to just put out, the aging fighter, just to let them know that, listen, it's the next generation. And to be fair, he did say it's the next generation's time, but if Regis still wants to do championship fights, I don't know how will it go for him.
So this is the thing. First thing, gotta say this. Speak to Regis like in the early press conference, fight week, genuinely so chilled. Like some
nice
fighters,
guy.
you think,
can tell, very nice guy.
He's got, he was giving time to people. I remember I was at the, what was it? The workout. He did one interview and then his team were like, we gotta go. He goes, no, let me get my guy. And I was just like, okay, cool, I'll do it. So super chill. His entire team was super calm and they enjoyed fight week. Like he said it to me, he goes, I'm just happy and I'm enjoying this process. There is one thing I'm going to put out for this with Jams. He was going to ask what's next for Josh Taylor, maybe a third fight with Catterall. It's definitely on the option. The reason I'm going to put this out there is because of what Mr. Neutral said. Taylor versus Regis. Now, the reason this fight can make sense for me is because of
147.
This is where I was going. There is that rumor, and Eddie's confirmed. Look, we've got a few signings from the Olympic pool, but we also got a few world champions or ex-world champions. Obviously, they can't drop names, but the word is it's going to be Josh Taylor,
which is shocking to me. But yeah,
I don't mind it because I always say there is a thing with me. British fighters, for me, just sit better with British promoters. There is a thing with me that I do think that. So I think at this point in his career, where obviously you've done your Jack Catterall fights, you've lost your world title. If you want to move to 147, you have someone here, I think, in Eddie Hearn, who is very smart in the way he approaches fighters, and I'm going to talk about one later on as well. And I think there's an opportunity here. You got Regis, you got Josh Taylor at 147. If you win, fine. You can potentially look at other fights in a limited capacity because the only problem is there's one guy that's realistically the champion at that division and you can't really compete with it, even though he's technically still signed with Matchroom as well.
Are you talking about Boots?
Yeah, Boots. So that's the thing. He's the man that's going to collect all the gold eventually whenever that happens.
Them boys are running at 147. They're running and not getting the paydays that they were trying to, get blood from a stone from the Boots fight, even though it was 10 times what they're paid. And then now they've just gone back into obscurity. But sorry, I just want to take a shot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. My point being is you have the opportunity where I don't think Regis works in America, but I also believe Regis works commercially in the UK. You now have the opportunity to put both of these two, if this signing does happen, in Scotland, do a little homecoming fight for him, for Josh Taylor, put him out there, but you can bring Regis back to Scotland. Now, whether he does it or not is a different thing because of the first fight. So I can
also here's the hard thing about that as well. I don't know if Regis' time with Matchroom is up. I don't, because I remember from when he first signed with them, it was an initial 3-fight contract. So obviously they gave him the homecoming in New Orleans, as they like to say. Then he got the Devin Haney fight. And then he got the Catterall fight. So I don't know if it's a case of if he's going to re-sign with Matchroom, and I don't know if Matchroom has the same amount of money for him anymore, because as harsh as it sounds, stock's gone down. And with stock's gone down, if you still want the same amount of pay, you may have to go elsewhere. And if you have to go elsewhere for that similar pay, then who knows what can happen. But obviously, it's a good matchmaking, it is. And I wish them all the best, but that's just a reality of it that I'm just thinking that we have to consider.
No, I hear it. I just think maybe it's just me looking from a naive point of view, in the sense of when I see them, I'm just like, they seem to be all right. But yeah, like I said, behind the scenes, we don't necessarily know. I'm gonna just get this point quickly, and I'm gonna just put this out there. Shout out to Mr. Styles here. I don't believe Regis will be a champion again, because there's too many barriers in front of him. I think at 140, his time's up. At 147, the opportunity is not going to be there. And I think he just took too long at 140 in his career personally. But which is fine, because he won. He was two-time world champion.
He two-time world champion, and he maximized his time at 140. It's different. It's not like a Kell Brook situation where you ruined your career chasing that one fight, and then you look back and have to ask yourself, was that one fight worth it to delay your whole time at weight class you shouldn't have been at? Whereas Regis was just like, cool, you lost to Devin Haney in a big-ish fight at the time. Then you had one more against Catterall to see if he still got it or not. He didn't get the win, but it was still, from his reaction, he seems to be at peace with it. He seems to be fruitful. So I'll definitely say,
that's the thing. I kind of just want that. You see the post-fight interview where you're just
yeah.
I want that. I'm at peace with, and I can retire. I do get it. People speak in the sense of more, but I thought, and then now he's talking about
this is where the harshness comes in, where sometimes
leave the boxing before the boxing leaves you.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even the boxing leaves you. Sometimes it's the ability leaves you. There's many people that still have the boxing spirit in them, but the issue is time has gone by, generations have got better, and it would hurt me to have to see Regis get flattened because he stayed for too long. But that might be what it needs.
Do you know what I just got?
I
just got a little thought. You know what we were talking about in the wrestling chat with Ric Flair. I'm just thinking about.
Oh no. Regis is not. That's Danny Williams. Regis is not that. Regis is not Ric Flair. I can't imagine. I honestly believe if Regis takes one more shellacking, to be fair, he's been beaten, but he's never actually been like thumped in. Yeah. So I think if he was to take one of them, that's when he would probably say to himself, okay, done. Whereas this one is like, he got outclassed in the second half, but I think the issue is sometimes when you have a good first half, he's still got it's that weird space where you still got enough in the tank, but if you want to go for championship belts, I don't think you got enough in the tank for that. And then the issue comes in as well. If you're going to go up to 147, unless you're going to, the only way it looks good for him is if he signs elsewhere other than Matchroom, because all the other 147 champs, you got Norman at top rank. I don't even know that
I don't even need it for the belt. We're going to just pause just for a second.
Yeah.
Somehow, me and Raw have agreed on something. Progress
all the way.
It's reasonable.
It just took him going Mauritius in the sun to finally make this happen.
Hey, listen, Raw, I told you I talk sense in boxing, but I want to
At times.
I just want to go on one fighter, British level fighter. Campbell Hatton. And the reason I'm going to bring this out is, look, I think a lot of people have criticized the fact that, look, at the end of the day, having the Hatton name means, okay, you're going to be pushed in ways that others may not be.
I thought he was going to say my guy Junaid Boston, but you know.
Oh no, Junaid Boston put on a proper performance, and to be fair, he's going in the right direction.
That's one of my favorite starlets at the moment. But yeah, so
the body shot that he actually hit was super clean, but he's in the right direction. This is what I'm talking about, Campbell. Your name being Campbell Hatton, or Hatton, sorry, means people are going to look at you a lot more in the limelight. But right now, I'm sorry, you're just not it. I think Eddie described him best as an area level fighter, potentially a British level fighter at tops at this moment.
You think that's Eddie confirming that he's dropping him from Matchroom as well? Then
he won't drop him. He won't drop him because there's enough name for him. Like you can put Campbell Hatton on a small show.
Shine's gone away from now.
But the shine has gone. That's my thing. Do you think they overly put the stocks in him too quickly? Like, you know what was crazy? It's not his fault, but he was meant to be before the Bellotti fight, and that got pulled. So he automatically got elevated to the core main event.
I don't think he got too much put on him. I just feel like, and I don't even blame Eddie for this. I feel like they just maximize the limited ability. That's what Eddie done. He went in there. He goes, cool. Eddie already knew what it was from the beginning. This guy's not the greatest ability, whatever, etc., etc. Go in there, maximize that name to the fullest until the point where he gets found out. And now we are here. You've been found out. Expects fast progress. No, there was not going to be no progress. Right. I think Eddie done the right thing.
Right. He's right on that. Because Eddie says to himself, look, we get him, we get a couple of shots, and then afterwards, bam, we need to keep moving them up. And I'm kind of with Raw.
Let's be realistic. We're not being realistic. There was no, even like the guy we're going on like the guy that he faced was good. The guy that he faced was brought in there to make him look good. The fact that you lost him twice. Yeah, I don't put on Eddie speeding up. That's not Eddie speeding up. That is Eddie saying, oh, I thought he was good enough to be, this guy that's not even that great. Well, if we've hit the ceiling already, then Frank would have built him up like Yard and Tommy Fury. But the reason I disagree on the Tommy Fury one, because the Tommy Fury one worked against them. Remember, Tommy Fury one was so poor that he had to face KSI because everyone was just like,
nobody cares about Tommy Fury. That's a disgrace that you brought Tommy Fury into this conversation, by the way. Just
I think Campbell Hatton reached his ceiling. The only issue is he reached his ceiling quicker than he was supposed to, because we're going on like Eddie put him in a British title fight, like in his third bout. It's like, no, the guy you was fighting was meant to be like another knockover. The fact that you couldn't knock him over is Eddie going like, oh, well, if you can't knock over this guy, like Eddie said, at most your area level fight. And at the end of the day, you also got to remember this. When Ham was, squeaking past the other talent, the public then started going, we're losing interest in him.
I was going to say that it felt like that originally anyway. Like certain fighters you have coming up, like
Ra, man, he had to, because Ra saying how far would Yard got if he fought an area champion. The issue is Yard didn't have a name that everyone was tuning into. Campbell had a name where it's like you've got to maximize, and let's not go on that Eddie didn't give Campbell, easy winnable fights. When he did give him easy winnable fights, the public got tired because it was just like, what are we gonna do with this? There's only so much you can squeeze out of that name, and I feel like Eddie done the right thing.
Do you know another thing? This is what I'll say. So you got like William Crawler right now. When he's going in there, super young, obviously, but he's getting finishes, and it's fun to watch. Campbell Hatton has 14 wins but 5 finishes.
And look at 14 wins. That means how many more? Look at what we're saying. Yeah?
That's the thing.
After 14 fights, how much like knockovers can you give? 14. There's only you're going on like he went 8-0 raw, and they gave him like a stern test. 14-0, if after 14-0 you can't get over the level of guy that he fought, there's literally nothing else. Like, they've squeezed the amount of juice. Campbell's probably got, would be patient with his limit.
I will say that.
How much patience do you want? 14 fights.
Listen, this is going to be crazy. This is the first. Second, I kind of agree with Raw in this way.
How much patience can you have?
Frank is probably better with British fighters than Eddie is. To
an extent, I agree.
I would say that. But that also comes from the fact that I think when Eddie came into this, he's just very good commercially compared to Frank. Like we always say this, Frank puts on in the UK the best UK shows, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Eddie does the best with his fighters commercially, and I think that's what I would point to. I do understand that. Like right now, if I look at it, I think Queensberry has the best British roster in boxing at this moment in time. Anyway, that's a credit to Frank to be able to do that. So I do kind of agree with Raw's point in the sense of being put in there, but I think the surname doesn't help. I think unfortunately we're kind of in a position where
the surname got him the recognition
to be where he needs to be. Yeah.
The surname got him the recognition, and there was only so far he was ever gonna go, and the surname got him the push that, I'm sure he's made a decent amount of money. But would you say, you mentioned this in a group chat, I don't know if you're gonna build on the point about where his next steps are.
No, I was just gonna say in general, I've just got thinking, is there anyone you can think that's followed the lineage of a brother or a father and the new generation that you're looking at, they've actually done well? Because I'm struggling from the top of my head to really think of a second generation or a brother that's followed on from someone who's a world champion.
I can think of is Goliath, if we're talking brothers, because he went on, well, we have to wait and see, but he went on to at least be successful in the amateurs. So we've got to see how he does in the pro. But despite the losses, you got to give Tim Tszyu credit, because Tim Tszyu's only gone out there and fought the best of the best and had spirited efforts against them. But boxing isn't really the sport where generations go and do as well or better than.
That's the thing. Like, you've got Eubank, but commercially Eubank's done it. But world title wise is not there. But his brand's there.
There's a reason why I didn't mention that one. And I like Eubank Jr. But in regards to actually Floyd would be the only example. But Floyd's, dad and uncle weren't the big commercial.
Yeah, they weren't the big commercial ones. Yeah.
Whereas Floyd obviously took it to a whole nother level. So Floyd might be the best example, but I'd say he's the anomaly, not the rule, because Shane Mosley's son went into it. He's not that. It's just. I
watched Shane Mosley's son. I watched him by accident, by the way. I'll put it out there. I watched it by accident. I'm not good at that. I was waiting for the main event. I watched it by accident. I was like, yo, this is 10 rounds of pain.
Boxing is just one of those sports. Go on, wait. The small you know why my theory on why boxing sons.
Give us your theory.
Yeah, I want to hear this. Theory. Because me personally, I just feel like it's one of those sports where you either got it or you don't. And a lot of these boxers' children, obviously, I get it. They go around their dad, they're inspired, but it's like, do you want it for yourself or do you want it just to follow in your dad's footsteps? And if you don't want it for yourself enough, just wanting to follow in the footsteps, you can only go so far. Chavez Jr. obviously got gifted a route. And then when it came down to fighting Sergio Martinez, etc., it all went downhill. Little Shane had to learn on job and he's an okay fight. He just beat Jacobs. Man, that was a Jacobs. We're not talking about a Danny Jacobs that's there for a paycheck.
I wanted to say Fury and Hughie Fury potentially, but obviously Hughie's taken a bit of time out and he's not looked exceptional. It's not. I know what you mean.
The only sport where I've seen, funny enough, it doesn't really happen in football either, and I don't know why. The only sport where I've seen where the sons seem to at least get decent or do better than the fathers, it's basketball. I don't know why that is. Basketball's had this fair amount of, I'm not talking Bronny James, but basketball has had this fair amount of
families,
whether it be brothers or sons, where they've gone on to be great. And I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's the culture infrastructure that it just works better in basketball, but football it's not the greatest. But boxing, right? So put up Ra's message.
Let's get it. Let's get, where is it? Right, let's go.
That is hilarious.
Champion
that is absolutely hilarious. Oh my!
You know what? I'm actually thinking about it.
There's something to it. It's hilarious, but there's something to it.
But then there's not, because Floyd called himself Pretty Boy Floyd, and he did well.
No, but
I get what he means.
I'm not gonna comment on how Floyd's mum looked. Because one, I don't know how she looked, and two, I'm not gonna be disrespectful like that. But it's true, we don't know. It's like when people shout Ocho Cinco always talks about how, you know, when he's looking for partners, he will go with them to like an arcade to see like how athletic they are, because he wants to make sure that, you know, if he does,
I'm one of the greatest NFL players of all time.
because but he's honest. He goes, if I do procreate with this woman, I want my children to be athletes. And Ocho Cinco, people were laughing, and he's like, no, I'm being so serious. I need to make sure that you're physically fit. You don't need to be the greatest athlete in the world, but I want to make sure you're physically fit. And Ra's got a point, a crazy one, but he has got a point where
it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, you got a lot of these fighters. It's like you just want these soft, dainty model women who's never got an athletic gene in their bone, and then you procreate, and it's just like, obviously, procreating with two athletic people, procreating isn't always a guaranteed athletic person, but there's credence to what you're saying, Ra. I hear it. There's because it's like you've got these boxers with plastic surgery, babes that's had plenty of plastic surgery, not set a day in the gym, etc., etc. And then it's like, but to be fair, there's the other side of it as well. A lot of these boxers don't want their children to become boxers. A lot of these boxers know that they're the anomaly, not the rule. So they've gone through the ugly side of boxing. And then I remember, like, even right, it's crazy. I remember even like who was it? I don't even know what to say. He's slightly right, but I don't want to entertain it. But it's like, even with Campbell Hatton, ironically, I remember watching 24/7, HBO 24/7 when Hatton was on it, when he was facing Floyd. This must have been 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
And I remember Ricky, and Campbell was a young boy at the time, and Ricky was just like, I don't want him to touch boxing. I don't want him to get into boxing, etc., etc. So when Campbell did start boxing, my mind went straight back to, you know, HBO 24/7. And I think that's even why Ricky wasn't too involved with Campbell's boxing, because he's just like, I didn't want this for you, and I don't know if you've got it. So he's probably thinking, let me take a step back, just so I'm going to be here for support, but I can't be the guy to guide you.
Yeah, no, I hear it. Listen, before we do wrap up, quick few shout outs. Let's bring in the man himself, Trail, saying a little shout out. Love Trail. You guys are going to see him and Rico popping up. Obviously, everyone knows Rico. This guy just streams his entire life. Genuinely, I look at Rico and I think, you see how people vlog? This guy vlogs, but it's just from one room. That's his entire life.
He's going to be the next big boxing influencer.
Yeah. Hey, listen, let's get him on Misfits. But yeah, shout out to you, Tro. We're going to see you guys later on tonight with Rico. I want a quick little shout out to Paloma's Music, saying, yeah, the sons have the name, but not doing what the fathers did. But in this day and age, everything is up for trade. One quick interesting point, though, that was brought up from Paloma's Music. Has Eddie Hearn done better than his father, Barry? I'm going to say yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say yeah as well. That's why I always call him.
This goes back to what I was saying before. Eddie also wanted it more than, obviously his thing is, I want to live up to my father's name, but Eddie has said in plenty of interviews, I want to be greater than. Like, I'm driven to be the best. Father of, silver spoon or not. And it goes with Eddie acknowledges, yes, I have a silver spoon. So I'm even working harder to say that I've made a silver spoon a gold one or a platinum one. And unless you got that mentality, I don't want to see some of these like successful sons step into the sporting ring where it's like you don't have the same drive or more of a drive than, your father did. It just doesn't, especially in such a sport like boxing, man. This thing consumes and can take your soul, man. Like, it's not to be taken lightly. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear it. Listen, guys, we're going to wrap up today's episode. Shout out to everybody in the chat and all the comments. Keep it locked in throughout the entire week. Shout out to our sponsor, as always, D-Rock Clothing, iBoxingHub 24. Get yourself 40% off. We're going to kick it out with the intro. Till next time, love and peace.
It's another bang. All the and cars now, whichever get up. I start my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flips me a bag, it up. So, it's another one, yeah.